everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem, and after our little colouring interlude with the Colouring Zone, we are back to the Scrawlrbox from the month of July, and very late, but we're here nevertheless to tackle the Scrawler Challenge in Bloom. So I had a little think about this, and to be honest, I didn't feel particularly inspired by the prompt. It's taken a little bit of thinking to figure out what it is I'm going to do. So I am employing an extra supply here, which some may say is cheating, but I'm okay with it. I'm happy. And that is simply a graphite pencil. I have selected an F pencil, and I'm going to use this just to sketch out an outline. The idea that I've got would actually be better executed using some masking fluid or even some washi tape, but in the spirit of the challenge and using the things in the box, I am not going to do this and I'm going to freehand it. The reason that I've chosen this subject is I really wanted to have some fun with these acrylic inks because they really are fun. They're really good fun, and I just wanted to be able to play about with them a little bit because that's what we do here. That's kind of consolidated the decision I've made on what I'm going to paint for the prompt. So the idea is here, I'm going to draw two Calla lilies. For those of you unfamiliar with Calla lilies, they kind of look like trumpets that stick straight up, you know, like this. And I am going to basically invert the painting. So I'm going to use these acrylic inks to create a really colourful background. And the Calla lilies are white, so they're going to stand out in the middle of the paper. So I just want to sketch out the outline of the flowers to begin with. So there you go, that was some of the original sketches I did, and you can see there I was testing out having the colour on the outside to see how much that was going to bring that out, and I was happy with that. I have to say the graphite feels kind of strange on this paper because it's ridged across the way. I feel like this is too squat. I want to make this a bit longer and narrower. Okay, so now that I've got that outline, I'm just taking my kneaded eraser and I'm going to pick up as much of this graphite as possible. Keep these lines really faint. So now to get us started with the inks, first of all give them a good shake, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a couple of colours in the palette before I commence this outer, so I'm going to call it a background. I suppose it is a background, isn't it? I want to mix a sort of purpley colour, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to squeeze out some of the raw colour. Oh, I really didn't intend for there to be that much, but never mind. Oh, fun and games. Fun and games. That was a bit more sedate. So there we go, we've got some of that. I'm not going to squeeze out any of the white because I'm just going to use that to mix. So the first thing I want to do is make a little bit of a purple colour because that's fun and that's pretty. So I'll start off with some red here and mix in a little spot of this green, and we'll give this a wee mix. And I'm just going to test this out on the back of the sheet that I had. Ooh, so that's going to give us a bit of contrast. That's quite a dark colour, and that goes back to what they were saying in the Scrawler zine about mixing your colours to get something close to black. And I also want to make up a sort of delicate pink colour, so I'm going to take some of the white for this here and I'll squish that in there, and I'm just going to lift some of this red and mix it in, and oh, isn't that pretty? So for this background, I'm going to use a mixture of using the brush, but also just dropping in some of the actual ink as well, just to see how this is going to go. In the kind of more tight spaces, I've got this gap in between these two stems here. I'm going to employ the brush a bit more. So to get us started with that, I am going to take a wet brush and I am just going to wet this area. Now you can see this is where having masking fluid would be advantageous, because we could mask off very precise lines. But say in the spirit of the box, we're going to do this. We're going to freehand it and see what happens. I'm not scared. I'm trying to get right up to my pencil lines there. Now we are going to have to work quite quickly because, as we discovered in the unboxing, this ink does dry quite quickly and we don't want too many, you know, obvious lines. So when we start going around this outside part, we're going to have to go pretty quick. So we'll start here. I'm just going to grab some yellow and a bit of this purple. Literally just dab it in and see what it wants to do. And I'll bring some of the green. I'm kind of avoiding the green next to the stems because obviously I'm going to be popping some green on these stems. And I'll maybe just start to allow that to to do its thing and just sort of blend, you know, give these colours a bit of a helping hand here. I mean, this could turn out horribly. It really could, but I'm all for a bit of adventure. So you can see how bright and vibrant that looks, and because these lilies, as I say, they're white, this is going to stand out amazingly. So I'm now just going to take my brush and I'm going to start sweeping. So that's where I left off there. And I'm just going to get some water down. So I'm going to try and go section by section here. Be as methodical as possible. And just keep this part wet round here so that we don't end up with a harsh line. I will have a harsh line somewhere, like it is going to happen. We've got to be realistic, but we can minimise that. And if it's at the bottom of the painting as well, it's not going to be such a big deal. So again, I'll just chuck in some colour here. Get a bit of yellow on the go. Whoa, yeah. Oh, this is fun. This is super fun. Now I noticed that when we mix in with the white ink, it doesn't want to travel quite as much, and it's the same with some of the other colours that are mixed. They just don't seem to want to flow as well. I don't know why that is. If anybody had any insight or any thoughts on that, I would love to hear it. Maybe we'll drop a little bit of green right in the middle there. Yeah. Clean off my brush and off I go in the next section. Oh, look at that doing its thing. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to try and get a bit of precision down the side of my lily here. Precision's not normally a word I would associate with me doing things like this, but yeah, no. Well, that was a little bit too much water there. I'm having to try and control the water a little bit because we don't want it going crazy. And I am anticipating some buckling, obviously. That's likely to happen. I could have taped this paper down, but the paper is quite robust. I think it'll survive. So I mean, you can have great fun with this. Okay, so this is starting to dry down here. And I'm going to take the droppers now. Just fire in a bit of... Oh, yeah. So easily amused. Now, if I'm pulling the water and the ink is going with it. Look, that's hilarious. Whee! Oh, I've gone over the line a wee bit. Utmost professionalism, as always, here at the cave. Stick a bit of purple in there. See, the purple's really reluctant to sort of shake hands with everything else, which is it's kind of weird. Okay, so let's get on the move here. Again, under normal circumstances, I would probably use a bigger brush for this outline. That would make a lot of sense. But we're working with what we've got. Just mixing up some more purple here. Oh, that was far too much green. Good grief. Oh, that's going to be quite a dark colour. Oh, I like that. Oh, we'll have some of that then. Why not? Look. Ooh. Oh, this is dried here. It's not completely dry. I can work that a little bit. Oh, grab some clean. Oh, that's not even that clean. Pink. Oh no, I've had a splash. Right, this is what we don't want. That is right on top of my flower. So I'm just going to dab that out and let that dry a little bit before I put any ink near it, because it will just leak into the actual part that I don't want any ink on. Oh look, there's a Pippy here. That's lovely. Thanks, Pip. I do try and keep this as sterile as possible when I'm doing this. It's not always, if any of you have got animals, especially furry animals, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not ideal a lot of the time. Look at this dark colour though. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, I'm going to try mixing up some more purple again since I made a complete hash of that the first time. I'm having so much fun though. Right, just one drop of green. Go on. Yes, better. Right, let's see what happens here. Yeah, that's a bit more like what we had before, sort of, kind of. It's not exactly the same, but I'm not really worried about that, to be honest. Got little spaces where the water hasn't quite picked up the ink and vice versa. And there goes the green. Whee! Trying to get that in that crease there without making a disaster area of it. Got a lot of bubbles and things going on here. A wee bit of water sitting, so I was a bit overzealous there with the water, but that's okay. See, I'm not looking for anything in particular with this. I just want it to kind of just do its thing and cover the paper. But you can see the shape of the flower starting to come out now, which is exactly what we were hoping for here. Now I need to try and keep this part wet here. This part has dried, but that's okay. Oh, that's snaking down there. And hopefully now, I'll give my brush a good clean. Hopefully now this part here has dried enough she says, oh. There we go. Winner. I am a winner. And as the last flourish, I'm going to plonk some yellow in there. Blop. Go. Oh, where's it going? Where's it going? Come back. Pop the bubble. Pop the goddamn bubble. Right, the one thing I do want to do now that I've got this done just before it dries, this really dark green that I made by accident, hooray, I just want to use that, there's this little part up here and it's like a little tail that comes off the top of the flower, and I really want to kind of like highlight that and accentuate that a little bit. So this is the, oh, I've just put my hand in that, oh dear, I maybe turned it around a little bit. I just want to highlight that and really define it a little bit more. I can rest my pinky in there, there we go. Really make that stand out there. Can you see the difference that's made? Maybe if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that that looks much better now because I've used a darker colour. So I've used contrast there to help pull that out. And I also want to pop a little bit of, oh, a little bit of this darker purple colour as well. And I'm just going to flick that up. Go on, go and do your thing. Be free. Right, so I'm fairly happy with that. Now I've just got to let this dry. And you can see that those colours, like, they're absolutely amazing. They're super, super amazing. So we're going to let that dry completely. And then after that, we can actually tackle painting our flowers themselves. Righty ho ho, so we're nice and dry now. Stuck it out in the sun for a wee while there. It's lovely here outside the cave today. Now we can concentrate on the actual flowers themselves, which is exactly what we want. So we learned from the unboxing that once these acrylic inks are dry, you can't move them about and they can't be disturbed by subsequent layers. So with that in mind, I am now going to mix the orange colour that was very similar, as close as I can, to this one here. And this is to do the interior part of the flowers. So we want to do all our inking with these acrylics first before we start to employ our fine liners, which, to be fair, are going to be used minimally for this. The one thing that I haven't quite decided on yet is whether or not I am going to put a black outline around the outside of these. I want to wait until I've got everything in the interior finished before I make that decision. Okay, so we've got a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange here, and I'm going to start with the yellow. So this is just the neat acrylic here with a damp brush, and we'll give that a little minute to dry as well. So while that's drying, I'm going to mix up a different shade of green, so more like a lighter green, a yellowish green. So I experimented a little bit with this before, and I'm looking for this kind of colour here. Not the easiest thing to mix. I just find that sometimes you get more droplets out of this than you anticipate. So I'm going to go 3 and 1 of the green, and we'll see how that goes, and we can adjust accordingly. Oh well, there we go then. I couldn't have asked much better than that, you know. Consummate professional, I'm telling you. You'd all don't believe me, but I promise. Right, okay, so we've got this little bit of green here. So I do want some very watered down yellow, so I'm just gonna grab that and I'm gonna pop some of this down under here. Just let that fade out naturally, and then I'm gonna grab this green colour here, and I'm gonna bring that up into the yellow there. You're just gonna let those brush strokes do their thing as well. I'm okay if those brush strokes show. That's not the end of the world at all. And then grab this yellow again, because I've got this little triangle under here. Now I'm going to be doing a bit more with this. So my brush is quite dry here. So we'll bring that down here, and then grabbing the green, we'll start from the bottom with the green. So we can keep adding to this. This is drying quite quickly. So let's add in a little bit more here, a little bit down the bottom. Now our yellow's dry enough here. I'm going to take a little bit of this orange. Now this is quite intense, so we're going to have to go gently with it here. So I'm just going to pop a tiny bit in there like that, and then clean my brush and get some clean water on it. And then gently just start working it out. So I'm keeping this corner quite rich and then just letting it do its thing. I think with this one maybe we'll have a bit more orange on the go. And maybe bring that all the way up there. And once again, we'll just give that a minute or two to dry. Okay, so on to the next step. I have got the brush marker here and I am going to squish a little bit of that onto my palette. And I'm going to take a clean brush again, that's a little bit damp. And I'm going to mix this with some water. So this is going to give us a grey tone, which I'm going to use for a little bit of shadow because this is a white flower. So I'm just testing out for the dilution here because I don't want it to be too dark. It will dry a little bit later as well. And because it's a white flower, we need to put some shadow areas in so that we can pick out, because these flowers, they kind of like curl up and fold over at the front, you know, so one part folds over the other. And I really want to be able to show that without actually using the fine liners. I'm just going to grab a little bit of that and just put in a little bit of shadow here and just fade that out. Now we can build this up, but we want to go easy to begin with. Now this side's darker, so I'm going to make the shadow a little bit darker as well. And we've also got where the actual petal curls here. So you can see that edge there, we've got a bit of a lip there now. And I'm going to darken down this section in here. So this is where the fold is. While that's drying, we can work on this other one. So just adding in a few shadows underneath here. You can see I've done this left hand one already. And this is just a case of I think just keep going until you're happy with it. That's the kind of like feel I get from it. So for example, underneath here, I'm just going to put a very delicate shadow line in there. And then just using a wet clean brush, I can pull it out as far as I want it pulled out, if that makes sense. You know, I can really soften it out here. So I'm still getting that definition in that shadow line of the bottom part of that petal curling under. You can see it's very, very delicate, but it's there. And then these parts in here, we can play about with that and make that as light or dark as we want as well. Again, I want to pull this up round because there is a lip there, but I do want it to be quite subtle, so I'm going to add some water there and just gently fade that out. So you can see that gives us some depth into the lilies as well. You know, you can really tell that that's tucked in. I want this section here to be a good bit darker, so I'm going to go back over it. So I've got this little edge here now. This is the bit that I'm kind of loath to do, but this is where this fold comes over, you know, where the actual petal folds over. So I'm just going to run a tiny bit of that along there. And again, if I grab it quickly enough with a wet brush, I can just soften that out a little bit, because this part's really going to be in a little bit of a shadow around here. So there we go. Technically I have used the fine liners. The sun's starting to come round it. Oh, sunshine. I have used the fine liners technically, but I didn't want to actually use them as fine liners. So I am quite happy with the outcome of this, and I'm quite satisfied that I've had great fun with the actual acrylic inks themselves, but I've also been able to refine that down and do something a little bit more delicate that was going to stand out from the background. If I had a little bit more time, I would probably have worked on making these background colours with the ink a lot darker, and that would really make that pop. But that's something we can always revisit at another time. But on the whole, I've really enjoyed this box. I'm happy with what I've done, and all that's left for me to do is sign my name at the bottom. Just like that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this, what you did for your In Bloom Scrawler Challenge, and whether or not you have decided to tackle it, and whether or not you have decided you like acrylic inks. I like them very much. So all in all, thank you very much, Scrawlrbox. Thumbs up, thoroughly enjoyed. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me, guys. You know I always appreciate it. And I will see you back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So have a great day, everyone. And bye-bye for now.